I actually have this as a 4. A strong 4, though. A very strong 4. I thought Dallas needed to draft a wide receiver that had some sort of skill or skill sets that will be able to be taken advantage of immediately. Because we knew, Cowboys Nation, that they would be shorthanded to start the season. And Tolbert's, he's got a bag. Let's be real. He's got a bag. He's another twitched-up athlete because he's long, and it really helps him shine at the top of the route. He combines that quickness off the line of scrimmage with the athleticism at the end of the route. Now, you got to put some pause, I think, on Tolbert because he's got some long speed to him, and I think he gets to that second gear pretty quickly. When you're watching him, sometimes you're like, oh, you sure he don't run faster than a 4.49? Like, he's not a blazer, but after the catch sometimes in that second gear mid-route, if you don't jam him at the line of scrimmage, he just turns up this gear and you see some explosiveness to him, some real sneaky explosiveness. And if you are in position when that ball arrives, I think you better be in phase or you better be ready for a fight because he's one of the better high-point contested catch guys in this draft. I mean, he catches a lot of these deep balls like that, and they're not just layups. They're not. Where I think he has a chance to shine early on, and that's why I give this year one impact, 4 stars, is that he'll keep that deep threat ability with Gallup out for the season. The difference between him and Gallup, I think he has better speed than Michael Gallup. Where Gallup really wasn't separating from people downfield that much, but I called it, instead of 50-50 ball, I dubbed it was a 100-0 ball. He was coming down with that thing if he had a shot to go up and get it. Well, Tolbert's similar. He's very similar in the fact that he can go up and get the rock. He's got big, strong hands, and he's got some speed to get on top of you. And he's got a really great ability to track the rock deep. His 646 deep receiving yards in 2021 were the 5th most in the FBS. 5th most. So you got a really smooth player, man. I mean, I think he's a good route runner. He could get better, and I think NFL coaching will help him, with those small nuances. I think he tends to round out his routes sometimes. Might want to sink your hips a little bit. But I think the most notable negative part of Jalen Tolbert's game is the drops. A lot of people are not going to like hearing that, but he had a whole lot of drops last year and been dubbed as focus drops. If you want to ding him again for something else, you can also talk about how old he is. He's an older player, but I'm going to be real with you. I think the fact that he's older and a bit more experience actually could help him out early in his Cowboys tenure because the Cowboys are going to be, relying on him, Cowboys. They're going to be relying on him out the gate, possibly for 4 more games, depending on when Michael Gallup returns. Where do you play him? You play him on the outside, do you play him on the inside? He showed the ability to do both. Last year in 2021, he played over 300 snaps on the outside, but he also played 164 snaps in the slot. And if you go look at his 2020 season and 2019, he didn't play nearly as many snaps in the slot. And remember what he said about this at the Senior Bowl. I wanted to learn every position. X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. He wanted to learn all the positions so that he could be a smarter player, a smarter route runner, a smarter football player overall. So I think it's going to be very interesting when he returns, Michael Gallup, that is. When Michael Gallup returns, where will they put Jalen Tolbert? Here's what it potentially will look like when he returns. You got Lamb, obviously, Gallup, Washington, and then Tolbert. I've been having this conversation with myself since he's been drafted. What happens if Washington plays well? If Tolbert is playing well? Who gets that nod, right? Because the Cowboys like to play in 11 personnel. They don't go empty a whole lot. They ain't going 4 wide a whole lot. If they go wide, spread it out, they're usually using Dalton Schultz. And I came to the conclusion, get Tolbert as many snaps as possible. So if that means knocking Washington down, so be it, because Tolbert's here for the long run. But if Tolbert is not at least as good as Washington, then I don't know that I would do it, because the ultimate goal is still to win now. It's still to win now and still to have the best players out there. Speaking of the best players, I found this very interesting. A lot of people say this about Dak, and they're just saying stuff. Well, he had Michael Gallup, Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb for the last 2 years, and he couldn't do nothing. Well, if you go back and look at 2020, they were putting up ridiculous numbers. So that's just that. But last year, he only had those guys for 5 full games. That's it. 5 full games. In those games, 9 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. And I want to say they did not lose. Did they not lose any of those games? Oh, I don't think they did. So, it's not like the Cowboys have had the full complement of their big 3 wide receivers over the last 2 years with their quarterback. It hasn't happened. So I'm hoping that we at least see Lamb, Gallup, and Washington more than we saw Amari Cooper and Tolbert. Lamb, Gallup, Washington, and Tolbert more than we saw Amari Cooper, Lamb, Gallup, and Ced Wilson. We didn't see them enough with Dak Prescott. We just haven't. And he's going into year 7. He's a veteran quarterback. I think he's going to help Tolbert in Washington. One of the things that you've been hearing him talk about and players talk about, coaches, Will McClay, all these guys are saying the same thing. They're going to have the opportunity to work with Dak Prescott early. I think that's very important. Michael said they lost to the Bucs. Yeah, and Michael Gallup left. He didn't play full game. That's what I'm saying. So he got all 3 of them in the 2 other. They played 7 games total, but they didn't finish the games. It was the Bucs game, week 1, where Gallup got hurt, left the game, I think, early third quarter. And then the Arizona Cardinal game. He caught that touchdown towards ACL. So, he never really got a chance to play with these dudes on a consistent basis. It didn't happen. We were all excited to finally see Gallup, Lamb, Cooper, Dak. Week 1, boom, done. Gallup is out for like 9 weeks. He returns against Atlanta. They just go off, right? They put up 60 points or whatever. And I'm just like, and then next week, what happens? Boom, COVID. Now Cooper's out for 2 games, right? Then Lamb, boom, he goes down. He gets hurt. And he's out for a game. So it was just never consistent with the top 3 wide receivers.